We're going to call tonight's meeting to order. This is the town board meeting for February 18th, 2020. I'm going to ask everyone to please silence your cell phones, and then we can all rise for the pledge. I'm going to ask, actually, if Chief Noble, if you wouldn't mind leading us in the pledge tonight, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to ask to join us in a moment of silence, keeping in our prayers all of our law enforcement officials, all of our first responders, and all of the men and women serving overseas protecting our freedoms. Thank you. And we will begin with introductions.
Good evening, Diana Quast, Town Clerk.
Vishnu Patel, Yorktown Councilman.
Alice Roper, Councilperson. It is so wonderful to look out and to see our police officers both over here and over there. Just wonderful.
Matt Slater, Town Supervisor.
Tom Diana, Councilman.
Ed Lachman, Councilman.
Adam Rodriguez, Town Attorney.
And do we know if Mr. Paganelli is joining us tonight?
I don't know.
He was. Okay.
It's not snowing.
It is not snowing.
Yet.
Don't say that.
Okay. We're
Knock
going
wood.
to quickly go into reports. A couple of things to report to the town tonight. And I want to begin. Everyone should have received one of these in the mail recently. This is from our refuse and recycling department. A lot of really great information in here for everyone to browse through. A couple of things I want to highlight. Friday, February 28th, there is going to be a residential e-waste day over at our R&R facility, which is located behind the police department. It's e-waste, bags of textile and clothing, as well as car tires, and there's a fee for the car tires of $5, and that runs from 7:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., and that's, again, Friday, February 28th, so a great service for everyone to take advantage of. And the other thing I wanted to highlight in here, on the bottom of one of the panels, used motor oil for our residents. Anyone with used motor oil can bring it to the Yorktown Highway Garage and the Central Garage between the hours of 7 a.m. to 2 p.m., Monday through Friday, excluding town holidays. And the used motor oil is used to actually heat both garages. So something for some of our motorheads to take advantage of. Right there, Mr. Diana?
That's correct.
I think you've changed oil once or twice.
Once. Yes, no more than that.
But can I ask you something? It's synthetic oil, and this can be combined to create a NW40?
It doesn't actually specify. It just says used motor oil.
Doesn't matter what motor oil you put in there as long as it's motor oil.
That's it.
Because
Also, I want to thank our refuse and recycling. They've done a great job on litter cleanup, taking advantage of the warm weather and no snow. Recently, places Lexington Avenue, Stony Street, Dell Avenue, Old Crampon Road, and Catherine Street have all been taken care of, and litter has been removed from our great staff. Building and maintenance update, we have steps over at the Albert A. Cappellini Community Center that continue to be worked on. We expect a resolution to be completed, work to be completed there sometime in the next 3 to 5 weeks, weather permitting, as long as Mr. Paganelli can keep the snow away. And I want to really thank our building and maintenance staff, the Landmarks and Preservation Commission for their help, as well as our planning department and everyone involved. So we are hopefully going to see that come to a conclusion. Our water department responded to a break at Windmill in Broadview last week. I was up there with them for a while. I think there's some photos online on our Facebook page. Folks, if you don't know what our water department staff have to do when they go fix a water main break, go check it out on our Facebook page. I think there's also some videos on our website as well. But the incredible work that they do. And as also a reminder, water bills have been sent to residents. You can pay online using the town website. And I also want to recognize Kathleen Romanich.
Romanich.
Thank you. Romanich. Kathleen was working with our friends over at Jefferson Village. We received a letter from some of our constituents over there in regards to their water bill. And with her help, saved them north of $500 in their water bill. So just a great job by our staff working with our residents. A few other announcements. We have a couple of board openings. We're looking for some volunteers to help with get involved in town government. We have an opening on our zoning board. We have 3 openings on the conservation board, and we have 2 openings on the Parks and Recreation Commission, all of which we are looking to fill. I also want to remind everyone, if you haven't yet, you can take advantage of a great program over at White Oak Farm this coming weekend, right? You got the tree tapping program that they do over there.
Syrup.
It's actually I've learned this. It is the largest commercial producing maple syrup in the region. Yeah. And so they have their tree tapping this weekend starting at 9 a.m. over at White Oak Farm. And lastly, there's a couple of people I want to recognize if I could. On Friday, it was just an absolute honor to join our friends at the Yorktown Police Department who do such a great job in sending off Lieutenant Tom Gentner after 39 years serving the Yorktown community. It was a really, really special morning to be a part of. And then on Saturday, I was joined by Highway Superintendent Paganelli and Chief Noble with the Mohegan Volunteer Fire Association, and we recognize our good friend Ross Campbell, who has now been serving the Mohegan Volunteer Fire Association for 50 years,
Wow.
which is really something incredible. And we thank Ross for all of his dedication to our community. And lastly, and I have to find the sheet. Here it is. Last night I joined the Yorktown Volunteer Ambulance Corps. They had their monthly meeting, elected some new officers who were the same officers as they originally had. But it was funny because they actually shared some stats, which I was completely blown away by. And I really think it's important for the community to understand how valuable YVAC is to all of us. In just the month of January, and this is part of the captain's report from Captain Rick Davin, total calls, 125. Medical emergencies, 97. ALS calls, 30. BLS calls, 63. Number of patients transported, 93. Loaded miles, 907.4. Total hours. This is the part that really got me. For the month of January, 919 total hours. The work they do is absolutely incredible. And we just, as a board, I think, thank them for all they do. And I sent...
Totally volunteer. You can't pay for
Imagine that. It's completely volunteer.
Volunteerism in this town is awesome.
It's amazing.
At very least, awesome.
Yeah, so just it was a very special weekend to recognize our first responders and a special night with our crew from YVAC. They are looking for more volunteers, by the way. I promised them I would say that. So if anyone's looking to find a special way to serve our community, YVAC is absolutely looking for some new volunteers to offset some of their hours. So, and that concludes my report to the town this evening. Councilman Patel?
Oh, it's my turn? All right. This is where I went. I'm not going to read, but every day I got up 5 o'clock in the morning and I went to New York City. And this is my 11th year and no cost to the taxpayer. And I learned everything the town needs to know: the zoning board issue, the enforcement, municipal board, the water, the sewer, the land impact, you name it. And I'm very proud that I can contribute more to this community by learning this thing and sharing my knowledge, because knowledge is the only treasure. More you share with others, it multiplies it. And thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Patel. Councilwoman Roker.
Okay, I'm going to speak, and I'm still trying to get over the flu, so bear with me. I want to speak about a vote you took a couple of weeks ago when I wasn't here, and I just want to present what my feelings were.
Please.
The first thing is that there is no statutory law that prohibits the town board from voting on someone who will go beyond the supervisor's term of office. What there is a couple of common law cases which may be similar but really not the same. When we were first presented with this, I got word to the Town and City Clerks Association of Westchester and asked them if they were aware of this practice. And the big answer was, huh? So no, they weren't. One of the things that I also did was look at the minutes, since not only I had served as clerk, but also Diana. And one thing that jumped out to me was in February, and on December 17th, which was 2 weeks before a new supervisor took over, the town board accepted the resignation of a member of the rec commission whose term of office was ending on December 31, and appointed someone to the Parks and Rec Commission for 7 years. The same thing that we were told we shouldn't have done. When looking at re-upping someone for a volunteer board, what I like to do is look at their body of work. And a lot of the things, when Diana was first appointed to that commission, I remember she worked with the skateboard moms and the Westchester County legislator, Mike Kaplowitz, to get money to purchase that skateboard park. And then she went over to doing the dog park. And I'm not going to go through everything Diana has done for the commission. You know, I just wanted to explain why my vote would have been against what they did, and specifically looking at the minutes from December of 2017, which was 2 weeks before a new supervisor took over.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Diana, reports to the town.
Thank you, Supervisor. First of all, belated happy Valentine's Day to everybody. And Tom Gettner, I wish you the best in your retirement. Tom and I go back, oh God, too many years. I think we were about 11 years old when we first crossed paths.
Come on.
Honest to God. Yep. We went through middle school together, all the way through rookie school together. So we go back quite a ways. Happy retirement, Tom, if you're watching. To echo the supervisor, with regard to the water main break up on Windmill and Broadview, that particular water main break adds additional challenges to our water department, many of which most people don't understand, because it is on what they call transite pipe. The Department of Health has imposed additional testing necessary when you repair transite pipe because of the nature of its construction. So any delay in reestablishing water to our residents is because of the delay for health and safety of our residents. So please, 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 if you do have a water main break in your neighborhood and you're delayed on getting your water turned back on, there are reasons for this. They must test at different areas, at different times, at different locations, to make sure that there aren't any, not only bacterias, but different substances going through those pipes that could get into your system, and we want to alleviate that. And it's for basically the health and safety of the residents, our children in the schools, etc. And they work hard to get these water main breaks fixed for you, so please be patient. I know it's an inconvenience, but they do their darndest to get it turned back on to you as soon as they can. That's all I got. Ed?
All right. Just a couple reminders on some things coming up. The Senior Advisory is meeting this coming Friday here in Town Hall at 1 p.m. That's the 21st. Our first Veterans Advisory Board meeting to try to set that up will occur on February 26th. It's a Wednesday at 7 p.m. at the Albert A. Cappellini Community and Cultural Center in room 16. An email will be going out to the people that have been have signified interest in it. If anyone does want to try to get on that list to come and see what what it's going to be about, you could email me at elachterman@yorktownnewyork.com .org. Or actually, Janice has taken a couple of numbers too, so you could contact the supervisor's office and get that information.
I don't mean to correct Ed's Yorktown NY, because then he won't get the email.
Thank you. YorktownNY.org.
We're learning emails, Tom. It's good.
I'm pretty impressed. Also, it was, someone brought up the point, and I guess there was an article in the paper. The census is extremely, extremely important. Right now, there's a piece that has come out, I know, for congressional district census, which is not the actual census. We need to make sure that if you've gotten that piece, if you do respond to it, please remember that's not the federal census that will be coming out, even though it's very similar. So please make sure when you get the census information, you get that filled in and help make sure that Yorktown counts, as they have on their logo now. I want to give since we're going to be recognizing our police today, just give a shout out to Dispatcher Beth Sherwood for the letter that Chief Noble forwarded on her helping a resident who had a power outage, and I was just shocked that NYSEG marked down that it was fixed when it wasn't. But that being said, she made sure that it got taken care of, and the resident was extremely grateful. It wasn't, it was just handled so professionally and with care. And, not that you haven't heard that 100 times about our PD and our people, but thank you again for all of that. We want to also give congratulations. We've had a couple of ribbon cuttings the past couple of weeks. We had All Seasons Wine and Spirits over by BJ's with Rich Donovan, really nice guy. We just had Lala's Exotic Cuts this past Friday, which is next to the bagel store near the diner right over here. And coming up, and this one's pretty cool, we have a new virtual reality studio opening up at the mall. Imagine VR Studios. Their opening is going to be on March 8th from noon to 3 p.m. And the really nice thing about that is they're going to do a fundraiser for Ask that day for the Alliance for Safe Kids. Yeah. So we're really, keep that on your calendars. Go over. They know they've been really working diligently. Their opening they were hoping to have in November. No, I'm sorry, it was October. Here we are now in March that they're getting there, but they took care of some issues they needed to, and we want to support them. So I guess that's about it.
Oh, I just want to add something about the census. Today, the Senator Chuck Schumer and the Deputy Governor and all the association of the town members, they really recommended that we should go and try to get maximum amount of money, which belongs to us. And if you don't tell them how many people, then they're not going to give us. So please be cooperative and try to help each other. That they are not taking your license plate or a credit card or anything. Just count the number. And many of our community members are doing really good job. They're working hard. So thank you.
That's great.
Well, as extra incentive, Vishnu, you said you were going to go around house to house if they don't fill them in, right?
Oh, they give me a go. Yeah.
So that's an incentive to get that done quickly.
Okay. Next, we're going to invite our poet laureate, John McMullen. John?
True.
You're talking about the changing things, how things have been going on for a long time, change. The commerce of coffee. We drink a lot of coffee in my house. I drink Dunkin' Donuts original blend, while my wife, for more sophisticated tastes, drinks Starbucks dark French roast. A number of years ago, we bought a Keurig K-Cup process at Bed Bath & Beyond, and now we can drink coffee all day long. So last week, I ordered 96 Dunkin' Donuts K-Cups from Amazon. And today, they arrived nicely packaged and shipped from Staples. We've come a long way from Maxwell House, stored in a tin and made in a percolator.
Thank you, John.
It's good to the last drop, right, John?
Can use a cup of coffee now, John. Thank you.
No,
Next, we have presentations. Chief Noble, would you mind taking the podium?
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Not quite sure how I topped that. John, I'll take a latte. But anyway, before I begin, I'd like to thank each of you, Councilman Patel, Councilwoman Roker, for calling in and wishing Tommy well. Lieutenant Gentner, Supervisor, you and Councilman Diana and Councilman Lachterman, thank you for coming up and issuing that very kind proclamation for Lieutenant Gentner on behalf of the town board. Very well received, and like I said, your well wishes and you all showing up, greatly received. It was a special morning, special day, and thanks for being a part of it, and thanks for being actively involved and making sure someone who gave almost 40 years, to the town, and he did an excellent job on behalf of everybody here and on behalf of all of us. Thank you again for taking part and for extending your well wishes to the lieutenant. All right, and tonight, well, I'm here before you for a few things. A departmental award. We have our spring and fall awards. So this would have been from the fall area of the latter half of 2019 per se. And we did have a great deal of quality arrests, a lot of good work done, but one investigation warranted the awards committee to recommend an award be given. And I couldn't agree more with the award recommendation and the recipient this evening. So at this time, I'd like to ask Yorktown Police Officer James Hannigan to please join me up here at the podium. Beginning January 1st, 2019, and continuing through July of 2019, the town of Yorktown, along with numerous other towns and villages in Westchester County, were hit with a rash of graffiti incidents. All of these graffiti incidents had one tag in common, and if you looked around the town and the surrounding area, all you saw was MEVZ, M-E-V-Z, whether it was on Route 6, the sound barriers, 202, if you looked up on the reservoir up there off Baldwin Road, the water towers, even up and down the MTA on the railroad line. This tag was all over the community. Officer Hannigan utilized his numerous street contacts, social media skills, and other investigative means to identify a suspect. While off duty, Officer Hannigan became aware that this suspect, in the graffiti incidents that I've mentioned, had just committed a larceny of spray paint at A.C. Moore down on 202. Officer Hannigan relayed this information immediately to on-duty Yorktown Police Department members, and the suspect vehicle was eventually stopped in the city of Peekskill. At this time, we put Officer Hannigan on the clock because it was time to get him down there to enhance the investigation. Officer Hannigan responded to the Peekskill Police Department to assist with the investigation, as I said, and as a result of that investigation, and Officer Hannigan performing his duties in an outstanding and efficient manner, the suspect in these incidents was charged with 6 counts of making graffiti for incidents that occurred within the town of Yorktown, and a litany of other charges from surrounding jurisdictions. And the guy behind you, the Yorktown police officer that you see behind me, was the driving force behind this investigation. A lot of hours, off-duty hours, put into it, and what he did rose above just a lot of other investigations that we had during that time frame. So, like I said, in addition, as a result of Officer Hannigan's investigation, this defendant was identified as a suspect in numerous other graffiti incidents that occurred in Westchester County. And I'm happy to say you haven't seen that tag MEVZ on our walls in town in quite a while. And for that, Officer Hannigan is being awarded with the Excellent Police Duty Certificate tonight, and I'll read that before I award it. Police Officer James Hannigan, you are commended for the intelligent, resourceful, and lengthy investigation into the numerous 2019 graffiti cases throughout Yorktown and other jurisdictions, which led to the arrest of a suspect. The suspect was charged with 6 counts of making graffiti within Yorktown, as well as being charged with in multiple jurisdictions. This has demonstrated outstanding and excellent performance of duty. please join me in congratulating Officer James Thomas.
Good job.
If you recall, we were here for the very same reason last year because he was one of the officers who closed out the arson at Shrub Oak, that Brian Slavin pool there. And like I said, it's just a lot of hard work and effort that gets put in, and it's no surprise, he's being honored tonight. And that was our police department award. But I have a few other awards tonight, and they're community awards, basically. I think you've heard me say, since I've been chief of police countless times that, we're even better when the community helps us with our police work. And I think you'll see no better example of this in the next incident that I'm going to describe, and another young lady is going to describe. So at this time, I'd like to ask PCSB employees Ann Walter, Christina Tacito, and their boss, branch manager Leslie Delapioli, to join me up here at the podium. How we doing? Good. All right. I'm going to let Leslie speak because she's going to speak from a bank employee's perspective, and I can speak from a police perspective. We tend to warn the public a great deal about scams and falling victim to scams. I know we put it up on our Facebook page quite a bit, and we try to meet with senior groups, as much as we can, and we have. And some of the times we post a scam up there and we get a remark, does somebody actually fall for this? You're not telling us anything new. But in this incident, this was a fairly common scam that Ann and Christina, they prevented a bank patron from being cleaned out of basically her life savings, $26,000.
Wow.
So, when this was brought to my attention, I thought this is something, while we're putting it out there, this is an example of the community helping us protect other members of the community. And they really took the time to treat their customer in an exemplary fashion. They reported this incident to us as quickly as they could. Now, granted, this person was on the phone. Actually, the woman that came to the bank to basically clean out her accounts and was getting scammed was on the phone with somebody who was telling her what to do, what needed to be done in order to satisfy what they were getting at. And this woman was doing it until these alert, conscientious, and just savvy bank, the girls say, I can't speak highly enough of them. That Ann and Christina just did an awesome job calling us. We got on the phone with, I believe, Sergeant Rapisardo. You're here tonight, right? You got on the phone, right, with the scammer. We tried to arrange it. We tried to arrange a drop. We tried everything we could to try to get this person who was on the other end to Yorktown so that we could bag him. And unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. The Sarge said that, hey, we're pinging your phone, and I think the guy said good luck, and he hung up. And but these phone numbers are spoofed. You don't know where they're coming from. Usually, it's in layers. These scams are done. That the person on the phone is going to get most of the money, but there's much lower level scammers that are the intermediaries a lot of times, and wind up meeting with people. But I'm going to let Leslie come up and speak a little bit from their perspective what happened that day. Okay. Leslie,
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello, Leslie. Hello.
Hi, how are you? Well, basically, I just wanted to say that this was an excellent example and a reminder for us as bankers of our responsibility to truly know our customer and know what is normal activity for them to conduct. Ann and Christina did an excellent job identifying that this was not normal for our customer, and that's where it started. It prompted them to ask her further questions, and they were able to determine that she was a possible victim of this scam. And because they did their due diligence in this, they were able to prevent it from happening. I couldn't be prouder of them. But bankers can make a difference with this.
What was a scam?
The scam, well, was, that was the This particular scam was that they had her DNA in a vehicle that was out of state, and she was going to be arrested.
Oh, jeez.
my
Unless
God.
she turned over all her money. They actually asked her her account numbers, her social. I mean, really threatened her. She was extremely frightened, and she was following the procedure. And they had her. They actually stayed on the phone while she was in the bank. And Christina picked up on it, went to Anne, and they actually were able to pass her a note and ask her some questions. And that's how they really handled the entire transaction with the customer, was through notes.
Wow.
And of course, then the Yorktown Police Department came and helped us with that. But yeah, very proud of them.
We had
But it starts with identifying it and really knowing your customer.
Yeah. I know this Friday is our senior advisory meeting, and hearing stories like this, I think, resonates so much with our senior population. My grandmother still calls me when she gets phone calls. She doesn't know because she doesn't know if she should pick it up or not. Tragically, we had an incident here in town. I had a senior, actually a customer of PCSB, come to my office because she paid her taxes, wrote it the check, was a victim of identity theft.
I know the customer.
Shut the account down, and her check wasn't cashed, and so she had a penalty.
Oh.
And
I wrote
so
a letter on her behalf.
and so she was
Yeah.
essentially victimized twice in that instance.
Yeah.
But I know our tax department has been working with
I hope so, yeah.
with you
Yep.
to rectify that situation.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't her fault.
It just
We
shows
had to
you.
close it, yep.
It just shows you how, unfortunately, our neighbors become victims, and
Yeah.
and the only way we can prevent it is by highlighting stories like this and having great people on the other end, helping our elderly neighbors and make sure that people understand. So, Ed, I know, Councilman Lackerman, I know that you're the liaison, and maybe that's something that you can set up with Rosemary Panio, the chair, is to have PCSB come and provide
We'd
some
love
insight
to be
on
a part
this.
of it. We hear it weekly, and you'd be amazed. You think, how can you fall victim of this? But they do.
Oh, it happens. It absolutely
No,
happens.
my mother-in-law had gotten a phone call while my wife and I were down in Florida. Oh my God, Drew, her nephew, got arrested in Vegas. He went out there on Sunday. I'm like, Rosie, he was at your house on Sunday. Oh, well, then maybe it
They're
was
very
Monday.
convincing.
Oh yeah, maybe it was
Oh,
Monday.
yeah.
But finally we had him. We just called him up at work and said, call your grandmother, please.
Yeah.
But they led her. They got the information when someone's a little older.
Yeah.
You don't really
They
think
scare
about
you.
it.
Don't answer the phone if you don't know the number.
That's it.
And you know,
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
all seniors. I had a friend, similar thing happened. They were on their way to get a Western Union, to send a Western Union telegram for $10,000.
Yeah. And the sad thing is, when it was explained to my mother-in-law, even by former police officer, her son, Mike McTighe, she still didn't, she was just so blinded by, oh my God, my godson, my grandson's in jail.
The details that they provide.
Yeah.
They know
Yeah.
names.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, they get them from you first,
Yeah.
and then they just put them all back in.
So
So.
frightening.
Yeah.
What becomes interesting is how they can relate persons to persons, where I actually got a call about an ex-police lieutenant who needed help in Florida, and I had worked with that police lieutenant, so I called the police department and said, is there a problem with this particular individual? They said, no, he's fine. Why? I said, well, I understand he's got trouble down in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, you got the call too.
Yeah.
I think you know who I'm referring to, Chief. And they said, I said, yeah. I said, now how would they put me together with that individual?
Social media.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Okay.
Social media. There's a whole scam on cons that are engineered through social
Yeah.
media.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why you should have your accounts private, only for friends. Only friend request someone that you know. And if you see a secondary friend request come up from someone, don't friend them, but report it to that other person and say, hey, did you set up a new account? because a lot of times they spoof the account, like they spoof phone calls. I get solicitation calls from my own house all the time, from my home number. They spoof my home number.
No, that's Carol.
No, it's not Carol.
She's calling you.
Yeah, it could be, but she's trying to scam me out of my money.
She already did that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's done.
Thank you. Thank you.
But don't go anywhere. Because I do have certificates of appreciation for both Ann and Christina. And I'll read it out now. But like I said, we all discussed, a great deal here. But, to Ann and Christina of Putnam County Savings Bank, Jefferson Valley Branch, thank you for identifying a senior citizen who was about to be scammed out of $26,000 and quickly contacting the Yorktown Police Department on November 14th, 2019. And again, I think incidents like these need to be brought to the public's attention. And you've got people working right here in your community that are doing wonderful things for people, whether they're at work or not at work. And Ann and Christina certainly exemplify that. So if I get a round of applause for Ann and Christina. Did you have a proclamation?
Yes, we actually also have certificates of appreciation recognizing the incredible work that you both did in this episode. And just to show our appreciation on behalf of the entire town, we also have certificates which we'd love to present to you.
Absolutely. I'm not going to stop you.
Congratulations. What name is that lady?
Thanks for watching out.
Thank you very much.
This is really the ID.
We'll give you each 10 minutes. If you'd like to speak. Just 10 minutes.
This is
Thank you so
real
much.
ID, okay?
Well, congratulations. Thank
This
you
is
for what
real
you
ID.
did.
Congratulations. You cannot duplicate. Thank you. I don't know.
Yeah, well, there's the advantage of personalized banking
Yeah,
versus
exactly.
the big companies.
Chief?
I never go in back.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. At this time, I'd ask Patty Abriscato and Dr. Christian Russo and his family if they'd like to come on up here and join me.
How cute.
What a head of hair on him.
Oh,
man.
yeah, no
Right,
kidding, huh?
right.
Takes after Dad.
Hey, Patty. Nice to see you. All right.
Do you smell that nice? I don't.
Last year, multiple dates, Dr. Russo and Patty, and I should mention that, and I want to get the name right, it is Family Chiropractic and Injury. All right. A few of our members use Dr. Russo. And I was told that Dr. Russo kindly offered his services to provide orthotic fittings for our police officers, not only our police officers, but employees of the Yorktown Police Department, for anyone who wanted to take him up on it. I said, all right, let me call him and see if he knows what he's getting in for, because we work rather odd shifts at the police department. And to Dr. Russo and Patty's credit, they came before tours, after tours, so that everybody off duty on their own time could get fitted for orthotics. And multiple days, he took the time out of his own practice and Patty to come over there and try to help us get a little healthier. And it's greatly appreciated. Before that, I know, we had, when Terrence Murphy was senator, we had our thyroids checked. The doctor came to headquarters and did that. And, we don't forget the people who look after us, because quite honestly, in this day and age, we need it. We need all the help we can get. And we received it from Dr. Russo and Patty. So, you said you're coming back? I'm coming back. He's a glutton for punishment, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to come back to the Yorktown Police Department. But on behalf of all of our police officers, many of them back there, And some of us have flat feet, so those orthotics are working extra hard. This certificate of appreciation is recognized Dr. Christian Russo and Patricia Abascato of Family Chiropractic and Injury. Thank you for your assistance in fitting Yorktown Police Department employees with orthotic fittings on multiple dates in 2019 at no cost to our employees.
Great. That's awesome. Doc, how you doing?
How you doing, Matt? Congratulations.
Oh, thanks. I can use an adjustment.
Swing by. I just want to say thank you to Chief Noble. I really appreciate you having me there. You were very welcoming. You made me feel at home. I do appreciate it. To the rest of you guys, thank you very much for trusting me with your health and allowing me to provide care. Furthermore, I want to thank all of you guys for keeping Yorktown a safe place for me to practice and to raise a family. I appreciate you guys going out there every day. I know you guys take chances every day, so thank you very much, each and every one of you. Patty and the rest of my staff, obviously, guys, you guys are the best. I appreciate it. I can't do it without you.
God.
And
Chief's he's just scaring your kids. Don't worry about it.
to last but not least, obviously, my wife and my family. Thank you guys for supporting me and dealing with a lot of late nights. So thank you again, guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, Doc.
Dr. Russo.
Dr. Russo, where's your office? Why don't you tell us all where your office is before you...
So the practice is Family Chiropractic and Injury. It's located at...
Which you're going to have in a minute.
It's located at 1010 East Main Street in Shrub Oak, right down the street from Yorktown Funeral Home. I look forward to meeting any of you guys there. So,
And if I could add real quick, Doc, before you go, I know Margaret Kaspuring's in the back from our Director of Human Resources. One of the things that we've been working on is a wellness package for our employees for the town of Yorktown. And when you heard about it, you jumped right on board. So I really want to thank you for helping all of our employees, and including our great police department. But as the saying goes, it's easier to stay healthy than get healthy, and I know that you're helping us in both directions.
Yes.
So we really do appreciate
Thank
all
you,
of
Doc.
your efforts.
You're welcome.
And that, of course, of Patty as well. So thank you so
Thank you.
much. Really appreciate
thank
it.
you, guys. Thank you.
Oh, they're so cute.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Oh, you want your proclamation?
We've got a few more up here for you. If you don't mind, for both of you.
All right.
Come on up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Doc.
so much.
Congratulations.
I think I'm short. I'm short three more certificates.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And one last thing, I love the ribbons, the blue line ribbons in your beautiful daughter's hair. Thank you very much. Thank you for that support. One more time, and I'll say it to Dr. And lastly, I'd like to call up Karen Mosman. Karen?
We know Karen.
Charlie, want to come up?
Take your hat off.
Ladies and gentlemen, her husband, Charlie Mosman.
Hey, Charlie.
Take your hat off.
Yeah.
No, they're okay.
60 years, Yorktown FD.
I know.
Wow. Charlie, thank you. Charlie, thank you.
Well, this was kind of, as my wife Elena's grandmother, Eleanor Virginia, once said, and I always remembered it, it's nice to be nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We could all use a lot more of that in today's world.
Yeah.
But I first had the privilege of meeting Ms. Mosman when I was a very young police officer, and she worked in the courts, in the courthouse. And she, throughout the years, has always been so nice to us. I mean, just thoughtful. She's the preeminent baker in Yorktown. If you ask the members of the Yorktown Police Department, they're nodding yes. When you come in and you find a Karen Mosman cake,
It's a good day.
the day's good. We're off to a good start. And I think one morning, we were having somebody made a pot of coffee. We were having coffee, and we were lucky enough to have a Karen Mosman cake on there. And I was talking about the awards, and Lieutenant Graham uttered, we should give Karen Mosman an award for baking all these cakes and cookies for us over the last 30 years.
Absolutely.
And I still listen. So I heard that, and I said, you know what? That's a pretty good idea. And you know what? While Karen says it's not 30 years, we're rounding up. It's over 25, because I've been here for over 25 years, and I know I've been on the receiving end of these cakes. And, it's a gift and a curse at this stage, because my metabolism is just about stopped. So I pay a little bit of a price when I eat this, but you can't turn it down. I think everybody in the room will tell you. But you know what? For all these years, for thinking of us, it's about time, and we always try to say our thank yous, you please and thank yous. But I'm just glad we're able tonight to publicly, thank Karen. And these last few years, we've been on the receiving end of a lot of, people dropping off cookies. I mean, really, the support we get from the community is you can't beat it, and it makes being a police officer here, it makes you want to do your job all that much more better. But people like Karen, it's nice for us tonight to be able to tell her how special she is to us for the many years of keeping us in her thoughts. And just bringing a little bit of happiness to headquarters in the form of her baking. So on behalf of the Yorktown Police Department, this is a certificate of appreciation awarded to Karen Mosman, thanking her for 30 years of friendship and thoughtfulness in taking the time to bake delicious cakes and cookies for the employees of the Yorktown Police Department and delivering them to us. Karen, thank you so much.
Karen, you want to say a few words? No? Just a few words. It's okay. We don't bite.
Thank you very much. I just enjoy baking, and I like sharing it with people. So, there we go.
Great.
And it's not only the police department that get it. The highway department gets it.
Oh, no wonder why Dave's not here.
Because Charlie used to work there. So.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Thank you.
And don't forget you're baking at the Fireman's Carnival.
Yes, I do bake for the Fireman's Carnival.
I always go there for your cake.
Perfect. I'd like to get a picture with you, Karen. You good? Come on, guys. Thank you. Karen Rosen, everybody.
Karen, thank you. And Charlie, thank you. We have a certificate of appreciation from the town as well. And I know the guys in the back are hungry. I think Councilman Diane is hungry too.
Yes.
So don't be shy of bringing some cake over here.
Hey, girly, are we getting the cake?
Why'd you look at my belly when I said
Ground ball.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Charlie, thank you for your service.
Yes,
we appreciate
Charlie.
it. Thank you, Charlie.
60 years last week? Wow.
All right.
73 years.
Yeah.
So with that, again, thank you very much for allowing me
Thank
to
you.
come up and present. We're a wonderful town, wonderful community, and to be able to celebrate, what the good work done by our police officers, many of them here tonight, and the support we receive from members of our community in many different ways. I'd like to make this a regular practice where we do a little bit of both. Because again, it's just it brings all of us together, and
That's great.
we could use a little bit more of that
Absolutely.
everywhere. Are you saluting me?
I have something to tell you. there are two members sitting. One is here and one is you. I saw you as a judge. Okay, you did not see me, but I was there. Thank you, Diana.
Oh, okay.
I saw you in a robe, and as councilperson Roker was not able to attend that, but thank you, Diana. And I didn't know
Thank
that
you, Councilman.
you're a judge now.
Well,
But
I'm dabbling in the judiciary, yes.
Wonderful, really
Judge,
great.
there you go.
Oh, those students, really incredible. Few of them I know them. Very nice.
The reason the community is good to you is because you're so good
Absolutely.
to this community.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Like I said, you surround yourself with good people and good things happen, and I got a lot of them. So thank you.
great.
Yes, absolutely. To our entire police department, we really do thank you. Chief, like you said, it's all about the community. We know you do a great job. I think there are going to be some opportunities ahead of us for the community and our police department to be partnering. And it's all great things that protect our families. And so, like like Dr. Russo, Christian, I've known him that long. Like Dr. Russo said, we appreciate everything that every member of your department does. And we just wish they come home safe every night.
Absolutely.
And that's the goal. So thank you.
Sure is. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
When he started.
We're going to continue with our program this evening. We have from personnel, and we have mentioned this a few times, to accept the retirement of Lieutenant Thomas Gentner from the Yorktown Police Department, effective February 14th, 2020. Again, ending a 39-year career here in Yorktown, which is absolutely amazing.
That's amazing.
Absolutely amazing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have some appointments to the Climate Smart Communities Task Force. I believe we have some of those members here tonight. We will be appointing, I guess I'll read the whole thing. Whereas the town of Yorktown is focused on becoming Westchester County's 4th certified climate smart community, and whereas a requirement to achieving certification is forming a Climate Smart Communities Task Force, and whereas the town of Yorktown established the formation of the Climate Smart Communities Task Force at a town board meeting on January 7th of this year, and whereas the task force is charged with developing a strategy and work plan for establishing a baseline for the town's current emissions, for recommending reduction targets, for identifying new strategies for reductions and energy efficiency, and for recommending ways in which these strategies can be incorporated into the town's economic development and planning efforts. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Greg Brown, Keith Holmes, Paul Moskowitz, Sarah Wilson, and Swarnav Pujari are hereby appointed to the Climate Smart Communities Task Force, and be it further resolved that their terms shall end on December 31st, 2021, and be it further resolved that Swarnav Pujari is hereby appointed chairman of the Climate Smart Community Task Force, with the term of said leadership post ending on December 31st, 2021. Yeah, I know Sarah and Paul. I know that you're both here. If you would like to come, do you want to come to the podium or just stand so we can recognize you? No, they're. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it. And we are still taking some resumes because we still have a few slots that are open. And I know that you sent me one as well today. So we will continue to build our task force. But do I have a motion to accept the resolution?
moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Actually, the gentleman I sent you is a friend of Vishnu, so later on he could tell you that gentleman sent his resume for the climate task force that you introduced me to Wednesday.
Oh, no, this is the one, Bob DeAngelis?
Bob, yes.
Oh, yeah,
Bob.
I'm going to ask you to come and visit because
Great,
I was away, and he was the head of the engineering department at IBM.
Fantastic.
And he's Yorktown resident for a long time.
Yeah, it's good.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's a good thing. We had a preliminary meeting a few weeks ago. Already had some great conversations, and now we get to move it forward. Next on the agenda is courtesy of the floor.
Get that other one.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have one more. Apologize. We have a last-minute substitution. I know, Mr. Kopstein, I apologize. We have one more personnel resolution, and I don't believe it's in the agenda, so again, I apologize. This is in regards to Jennifer Leonard. I'll read it in its entirety. Be it resolved that Jennifer M. Leonard of Jefferson Valley, New York, is hereby appointed as an intermediate clerk, job class code 0187-01, from eligible list number 02-100, effective February 19th, 2020, in the building department to be paid from Yorktown CSCA, salary schedule A1, group 3, step 2, which is $43,790 annually. Be it further resolved that this appointment is subject to a probationary period of not less than 12, no more than 52 weeks, commencing on the first date of appointment on February 19th, 2020. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
This person individual is a replacement for somebody who retired.
Retired, correct. That's correct.
We just want to make sure we know that this is
Yes,
the
correct.
number of
That is to replace
replacement.
retirement.
Happy retirement to.
Sophie. I believe it was for Sophie James.
She was not well.
Courtesy of the floor. Mr. Kopstein?
Good evening, Jerry Kopstein. I'm going to modify what I had based on discussions I had with the supervisor and the Parks Rec superintendent. So I'm going to go. I have some questions that weren't asked or answered at the work session having to do with Capture Point. I'm sorry we didn't have a question and answer period there, and I think we should have. What I don't know is how the data is being secured. We're sending in photos of our children, dates of birth. How is that data being stored? How is it being really secured? People say it's in the cloud. There is nothing in the cloud except for snow and rain. The only thing that's in the cloud. That's a euphemism that means nothing.
Right.
There's a server somewhere or several. Where are they?
Okay.
Where are the backups? Where is the data stored? Things like that. How are addresses verified? As you know, we have Yorktown residents that have addresses in Ossining post offices.
Right.
Similarly, there are Somers residences that have Yorktown post
Correct.
offices. How is that going to be verified? Especially since I have grandchildren now and I've been to the pool. I've seen Somers residents with Yorktown addresses trying to get into the pool up in Shrub Oak. How is that done? What kind of data encryption are we using? Are we meeting the minimum federal standard now, which are the 256? I don't know. We haven't spoken about it. Are we using a VPN, a virtual private network, to move the data? Again, it wasn't spoken about. Are we going to be able to use our existing town contracted ISP, or are we going to have to use a different ISP that the town's going to have to pay for? Again, wasn't raised. And my last question is, and the superintendent answered it, but I'll raise it again to get it on the record. In all our other instances in the town where we pay for something using a credit card, there is a convenience fee. Is there going to be a convenience fee in doing this? And I don't know if we can legally not charge a convenience fee. I think that's something council is going to have to look at, because then it would be a gift of monies to a certain portion of the population, but not to other portions of the population. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kopstein.
Thanks, Jim.
Next? Right at the buzzer, Mr. Kopstein. Next?
Hi, Marcia Stone from Shrub Oak. I'm here again to speak about the partisan removal of Diana Quast from the Parks and Recreation Commission. You removed a veteran of 14 years on that commission, a volunteer who was doing an excellent job. You've replaced her with Rick Romansky, who was listed as an alternate on the commission. However, I'm told by those who attend those meetings that he rarely attended them. And then 2 people on the commission resigned. One had to because of his new position, and both will be replaced. So basically, a fully functioning, successful commission is now almost starting over. There are grave concerns in this community about Mr. Romansky being on the Parks and Recreation Commission. In the past, Mr. Romansky has pressured the town officials to lower or eliminate the fees for his organization's use of the town fields and equipment. This town board needs to be vigilant about this and stand up for the taxpayers here. You should not lower or eliminate the fees for Mr. Romansky's groups, or any other groups for that matter, for you to use town facilities and equipment. Don't let that happen here. There's a concern about a conflict of interest with Mr. Romansky's position on the Parks and Recreation Commission and his for-profit business. What measures have been put into place to avoid any conflict or any appearance of conflict, and to assure the public that no member of any commission has motives beyond what is in the town's best interest? You need to make public a plan that you intend to follow. Rick Romansky is not the right person to have been appointed to the Parks and Recreation Commission. Diana Quast was the right person for that position. She had no conflict of interest. She ran no business that profited from using town facilities and equipment. You should not have removed her from that commission.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Strauss.
Dan Strauss, 53-year resident. I'm going to chime in on this Parks and Rec thing. And last meeting, I was floored because I had no idea that Mr. Romansky was an alternate. So if he has a conflict of interest, how did he get picked as an alternate 2 years ago? And you know what I heard? It was political payback. So that's what I heard. So I'll leave it at that. Okay? All right. Now, the other thing I'm going to mention, we talked, Mr. Slater, briefly, but we mentioned branding. And I don't think you need branding at all. Why pay someone $35,000 when the first part of your meeting is branding?
That's smart.
Okay, number 3, you won't like to hear this. Today I was talking to someone, this is a quality of life and death. I was talking to someone today, and she mentioned that she saw someone parked in a no parking zone for fire no parking zone. I've been sitting here for 4 years listening to meetings and all these things that go on, and nobody talks about enforcing those laws. You get up at the beginning of meetings and you say a silent prayer for first responders and for police officers, and you do nothing to enforce those laws. So I'm going to ask you on an ongoing basis. There are people who on an ongoing basis with impunity park in fire zones all over town, and nothing is done. And you are dealing with life and death. It only takes one time, and I don't want to be collateral damage, and I don't want my friends to be collateral damage, or my grandkids or my kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Strauss. Next.
I, Sheila Schreier, resident of Yorktown since 1975. I'm here to support Diana Quast. After 14 years of distinguished service as a volunteer, she was summarily fired from her position at Parks and Recreation without cause. That's not a good look. She was replaced by someone, a Republican, who appears to have financial ties to the fields. Not a good look. The woman whose position was renewed, a Republican, decided to retire. So now there are no women on the board. Not a good look. While one of the reasons given was that no elected official should serve, when I last looked, there is still an elected official, a Republican, on the Parks and Recreation Board. So this excuse is obviously false. Not a good look. Our past supervisor made an effort to appoint Republicans and Democrats to our various boards to keep a balance. While this administration promised to be nonpartisan, that lasted 5 weeks. Not a good look. Actions speak louder than words. The citizens of Yorktown are not stupid. We will be watching what this administration does for the next 20 months.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sheila.
Next.
Good evening. My name is Fran DiBernardo. I'm from Yorktown Heights. I'm here to protest the removal of Diana Quast from the Parks and Recreation Committee. For many years, Diana Quast has performed with excellence for the Parks and Recreation Commission. I've read various statements made in the Yorktown News regarding the reasons for her removal. When I hear a decision was made to move it forward and just bring it close to the issue, I hear evasion because there really isn't a good justification underneath it. When I hear the decision to move in a different direction was made, I would like to hear the details of that direction. What do you hope to accomplish with the new team that you could not accomplish before? The attempts that were made to justify this were just not adequate, and they're not believable. I will also note that with the removal of Diana Quast, and now looking at the list of people on the Parks and Rec Commission, it has zero diversity. And I honestly feel that the conflict of interest of the new person appointed and the overrepresentation on the board of people who own sports teams or who head up sports groups is really not looking at the diversity of what we need in Parks and Recreation. Diana brought to us the dog park and the skate park, things we never had before that represent other uses of our recreational facilities in the town, not just sports teams for kids. So I had high hopes that this new administration would be honest, transparent, and honorable. This is a disappointment, so I urge you to please reconsider your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. Next.
Good evening, Louise DeMarco from Yorktown Heights. This has nothing to do with what was just said. So this is going to be a change. Last week, I was up before, the town board before, I think that was February 4th, and I talked about the 150 rental units. And at that time, nobody seemed to have an answer. After I sat down, Mr. Esposito, who's here right now, as a matter of fact, he can probably answer or maybe try to answer the question. I wanted to know if there was any activity on the application for the 150 rental units, okay, that Diversified Properties was proposing on the 19 acres on 6N and Hill Boulevard. Mr. Esposito came up after I sat down, and he said that he had been in direct contact with Diversified Properties, and that they are still very much interested in going ahead with that plan. The reason I'm here in front of everybody is because there's quite a few people, okay? Yorktown residents, property owners want to know what's going on. It's a constant thing. It's not being forgot about. So the reason at the time that I was told, and that was September 3rd, I believe, and I believe it was Ms. Quast had said that the Diversified Properties had put a hold on the application. The reason for that was because of their concerns over the opposition to this particular plan to build the 150 rental units. So far, haven't heard anything. They were at the street fair, and they said that they were breaking ground this coming fall. I was told that that's not true.
That's not true.
Okay, but our concerns are still there. So Mr. Esposito seems to think that they're still interested. So whether it's this fall or next fall, they are still interested in planning that 150 rental units on 6N and Hill Boulevard. Our concerns as citizens, we want to know as taxpayers, how is that going to affect us as far as costs for the additional services that is going to be needed to maintain that particular 150 rental units? It's already a tax burden on property owners. We all know that. We pay how much of the cost of running this town? I believe it's like 80% or something. That's what the property owners pay to maintain this town and services. So if Mr. Esposito can tell me exactly what is going on, and if he knows exactly, because Diversified Properties was supposed to do their own research, which is why they put a hold on this application. So if they're still interested, do they have the answers that we were looking for?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening, Brian Selleck, Jefferson Valley. First of all, I'd like to say to Miss...
Sorry, Brian.
to Councilwoman Alice Roker. Welcome back, and I'm glad you're
Thank
feeling
you,
better.
Brian. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And I too would like to talk about diversified properties, the 150 rental units, and Summit Hill. Last year, they were going to do a traffic study that was going to be paid for by the diversified properties or the town and reimbursed by diversified properties. I'd like to know the status of that. One, if it was done. Two, if it was submitted. Three, if it's public record that we can look at and see what the status and the outcome was. And I'd ask for an answer now rather than later after the courtesy of the floor, because I think it might be getting forgotten. So if I could ask you a question now to answer that, I'd appreciate it.
We'll address it. We're going to address all comments to the end. We're going to address all comments at the end.
Okay, not going to forget it?
We won't forget.
Okay.
Well, Brian, you can walk back there. See that man, John Degeter? John, raise your hand. He'll answer your question.
Okay, thank you.
We're going to give him a
Alice,
green
you do
vest.
recognize that look
Next.
that you're getting from him, right?
Good evening, Alice and gentlemen. My name is Grace Caparino. I'll be very brief. I'm here to protest the removal of Diana Quast. You said it was not a partisan decision. It appears that it is. There's no ethical or statutory reason for removal of this talented administrator from this position. We will be watching. We vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening, board members and town supervisor, and town clerk. And I'm again here on the same issue with Diana Quast's.
Could you state your name, please, for the record?
Sure. My name is John Flynn. I live on 5 Woodsbrook Lane.
Mr. Flynn.
I served on the planning board for a number of terms, and it was my pleasure to work with a number of people from the recreation department, the town employees, as well as with Diana, a volunteer on the rec commission. Because the planning board, one of the things that happens there is that when they're looking at residential developments, the developer has a choice to various degrees between donating land to the town for recreation space or making a recreation payment on a per dwelling unit basis. And so that we would coordinate with the Rec Commission and Diana on those type of questions as to what their needs were, as opposed to just whether they were preferred seeing the funding or seeing with the land being offered up was useful for open space. And I must say that Diana did all the things that you'd want someone to do as a paid employee, much less a volunteer. She was great at program management, at strategy, at financial questions, at consensus building, and most importantly, she showed up. I mean, I couldn't really name anybody else on the Recreation Commission during the time I was there. It was always Diana who showed up at our meetings and represented the commission at the time. We'd get somebody from the town employee from the department, and Diana, and that's who we dealt with. And so I just was very troubled to see that the decision that went down here last week. I think that I was looking at the coverage in the newspaper. One of the elected officials, I won't mention any names, was quoted as saying, "We just need to be professional here." Well, I think if you're looking for professionalism, you need to look no further than the end of the table here. That's exactly the kind of person that you want to have as a town volunteer. And I've served on since the early 1990s on volunteer boards, and I wish I had a chance to serve on one with Diana. She was that good. And then again, a number of people have alluded to the questions of partisanship in this decision. One of the people who voted in favor of this was saying they're just trying to correct a wrong. And
wrong.
I guess I'm puzzled by that, because during that same person's term in office, they saw no problem when previous administrations we're filling open seats on the planning board with Republican district leaders. 2 open seats on the planning board, 2 Republican district leaders get appointed.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn.
I'm not done yet,
Oh,
sir.
the time's up. Sorry,
Oh.
3 minutes for courtesy of the floor.
Okay, well, if I can just quote Ed Koch before I go?
Quickly, please.
Come on, you want an Ed Koch quote, don't
Oh,
you, sir?
who doesn't love an Ed
Okay,
Koch
yeah,
quote?
okay. I think to paraphrase him, I think Diana will find a much better volunteer job. There are many volunteer organizations looking for people with her talents, and Yorktown won't get a better volunteer in replacement.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. Appreciate it. Next.
Yes, my name is Paul Jeffries, and I'm here in regard to Diana Quast's removal. Only to say one thing, really. She has produced a lot for this town. She's won grants. She's done many things for this town. In the course of removing her, the question is, what does the board plan, or what does the new individual who is on that board plan to do that is at least up to the same level and provides our community with the very wonderful things, the parks and all the advantages that we've gotten from her out of her own volition as a volunteer? That's not a little issue. In this day and age, people do not easily want to volunteer. So my question is very simple. Does the board have a plan? And does her new replacement have a plan? And I think we should discuss that. I think that's a very critical point. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening, Mark Lieberman, 22-year resident, Wells Street. After 4 children were hit by automobiles while skateboarding on Yorktown roads, Diana Quast, as a member of the Parks and Recreation Commission, helped lead the effort to build Patriot Skate Park for our children, which now have a safe place to enjoy themselves. After years of false starts, Diana Quast, in her role on the Parks and Recreation Commission, helped lead the way for the development of the Sylvan Glen Paw Park, which has a 5-star rating on Google. Each year, hundreds of Yorktown residents come out for the Holiday Electric Lights Parade. Diana Quast, as a member of the Parks and Recreation Commission, was instrumental in bringing this annual event to life in 2012. Just last year, Diana Quast, as chair of the town's Parks and Recreation Commission, worked on designing a playground, seeking and receiving grant money to meet the needs of children of all abilities. This park will be an unbelievable addition to the Granite Knolls Sports Complex. And considering Diana Quast's efforts to improve the lives of all Yorktown residents as a volunteer with no conflict of interest for the past 14 years, she should have been reappointed by Supervisor Slater. Instead, he found a technical issue, opening the door to appoint someone with political ties and a potential conflict of interest, as he has a symbiotic relationship with most sporting facilities in Yorktown. And since the town has not seen fit to show their appreciation, I'd like to, on behalf of a lot of the citizens of Yorktown, give you this certificate of appreciation.
There's been
Thank you, Mr. Lieberman.
a lot of talk about the 150 units going into Jefferson Valley. And this may sound like a nit, but it's not on 6N. 6N is a bypass to Route 6 to turn around the gas station. That goes back to Route 6. It's a town road, East Main Street. So any additional 150 units may put demands on East Main Street that we don't have now, and that should be considered. So I wish people would refer to it as East Main Street rather than 6N.
Thank you, Mr. McMullen. Next.
Excuse me. Susan Siegel. I'm here to ask a question for somebody else from Mohegan community. You have the resolution rescinding the resolutions about the retaining wall and then to advertise for a new quote. So the question is, the concern, if you're going to re-advertise something, how will this affect the timetable? Because the people in Mohegan are very concerned about the delay. And I know going back, the issue was a different type of brick and that whole issue. So can you just explain basically the status of what is happening for the people in Mohegan. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Next.
Sergio,
Good evening, everybody. Alice, welcome back. How you feeling?
I'm getting there.
So I just want to address a couple of topics. One regarding the fees to the organization. As you guys know,
What's your name?
I'm from Comprehensive Computers, but I'm the president of the Yorktown Chamber of Commerce, for those of you who don't know.
And name is Sergio Esposito. For the
Sergio
record.
Esposito.
Thank you.
Did I say my name wrong?
I didn't hear it.
at all.
We all know you. One name.
Alice said hello, Sergio, but that was it.
He's known by one name, Sergio.
Okay.
So I'm Sergio Esposito. I'm with Comprehensive Computers and the Yorktown Chamber of Commerce. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Good. So anyway, as far as fees to these organizations, to the soccer club, the YAC, and all of these local organizations, honestly, I really don't think you should be charging them anything. And I know that's going to be a controversial statement, but they provide a service to this town and to our kids. And if anybody knows me, they know how much I love kids. And my kids have gone through the program. They're almost aged out, unfortunately. But I don't really think that we should be charging them anything for the fields because of the service that they are providing for the town. And people constantly leave that part out. If the town were to run these organizations, could the town do it? I don't think so. I think it's a very big undertaking. Would the town be able to do it efficiently? I don't think they would be. Does the town want to do it? I don't think the town wants to do it either. So when we're talking about these organizations and all of this other stuff, keep in mind what they provide to us. I sent a text to John Campabassa just a little while ago. It was a little late. I wanted to know what they have contributed to the town in 2019. I'm sure it's quite a large number in the terms of what they've provided to the town, repairs that they made to fields, and all of that stuff that goes along with it. But don't forget the service that they provide us, because I think that's invaluable, and you cannot put a number on that. As far as Rick Romansky and his ties to the field, Diana, you've done a great job on the commission. I just want to let you know. Let's give her a round of applause. All right. I think Rick brings some insight because he's got boots on the ground at these fields. So I think his input could be valuable. If somebody believes that there's a conflict of interest with the cost of what the town charges, which I think should be zero, but that's another thing, right? Maybe what he could do is he could recuse himself from a vote that has anything to do regarding the price of the rentals of the fields. I mean, I think that's a simple solution. I think a lot of the members of the organizations, of the local sports organizations, and bring a valuable input to something like the Parks and Rec Commission. And I don't think that should be considered some kind of conflict of interest. As far as the appointment with Diana Quast and not a good look and all of that kind of stuff, the way I understand that the appointment wasn't made properly.
Don't go there.
Just wrap up.
I'm sorry?
If you could just wrap up.
Okay, I'll wrap up. And as far as the rental units, we have not heard anything from Diversified Properties yet. I ask everybody to be patient. Let's see what they want. Let's see what they're going to do. I know that they were at the Chamber Festival. Everybody speaks of it like it's some illegal thing,
Sergio.
but they're entitled to be there like anybody else.
Thank you.
Sorry
3 minutes.
for running over time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sergio.
Anyone else? Courtesy of the floor.
Motion
to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Comments from the board? Actually, if I could, I'm just going to, Susan, to answer your question about Mohegan Lake. Obviously, something very much on our radar, working with Highway Superintendent Paganelli on. The study that replaced the material replacement study isn't due back until at least next week now. It's been delayed yet again. I have asked the firm doing the study to present their findings at a work session meeting since they can't seem to produce this study in a timely manner. They will be scheduled to be on next week's work session board meeting, so the board can be presented with that study about the material replacement. In the meantime, the RFP is expected to be going out in the next few days, by the end of the week, the latest. So it really is not going to impact the timing of the project. That's the premise that we're working on, again, with our highway superintendent, as well as our town engineer, as well as our town attorney, who's obviously involved in this procedure. We are working diligently diligently to get this project off the ground this spring.
Yes.
It is a high priority, and I really do want to thank Highway Superintendent Paganelli for all of his leadership during my few weeks here, getting this project under my belt and understanding what we need to do to get it off the ground. So I'm very confident that we're gonna hit our marks, and this spring we plan on actually seeing that project come to fruition. In the meantime, we're going to take the action tonight, follow our procurement policy, and have it go out for an RFP by the end of the week. In the meantime, we should have a replacement study done. And again, the RFP is for the management, it's for the oversight of the project. It's not for the project itself. That was awarded already, so we're not rescinding the bid that was Remus had already won and was awarded. What we're rescinding is the contract regarding the oversight of the project, and that's a very important distinction for us to make. So this does not impact the project. This is all simply regarding the oversight of the project, which is something that our highway department and our highway superintendent specifically requested we have for this project because of how complicated it is. And so that hopefully that provides some clarity on the resolution. Thank you. Yes. Any other comments from the board?
John, come on over. Can we answer Brian's question about whether or not Diversified or whatever they call themselves has done a study?
Traffic study from Diversified Properties? Have you been made aware of one?
The application of Diversified on the Hill property has been inactive since the summertime. There's been virtually no activity whatsoever.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The other thing, if I may, just in regards to this false perception of a conflict, only because our ethics code dictates, it's actually section 45-5, that if there were some type of conflict of interest, that the voting member would have to recuse themselves. So that is again the procedure, and it's in the code, and the expectation is that that individual or any individual who takes a vote on behalf of the town, whether it's here on the town board or in an advisory role or a commission, if they have a conflict, they have to recuse themselves. It's dictated by the code.
And if I could, I just want to clarify one thing with regard to one of the appointments. It was stated that it was a Republican that was put on. I voted no for. I am a Republican. I felt that another elected official and department head is not necessary on that board, and I had a conversation with that individual, and I told him that that's the way I was going to vote, and the reasons I had voted that way.
I'd also like to add to that before that got put on the agenda, we had interviewed people. I did ask Supervisor Gilbert and the rest of the board not to bring it, that it should be discussed, because I'm the one who had the serious issue about elected officials on the board. My main feeling on it as elected officials, we are all a resource for the town. That is our job. That is part of what we get paid for. Someone asked what the plan was. I know I personally would like to see a parent of a child with special needs on our board, because I think that gives us an outlook that we really don't have. I've worked with special needs children, and there are some true concerns there that just escape. As a parent whose daughter is going to be 35 this year, I know that it was eye-opening to work with some of these children and to see what was there. I don't by no means discredit what Diana has done on the board. She's done some great work there. I specifically, though, did ask, please don't, and I didn't even know about the reappointment. I asked him not to appoint Mr. Paganelli. I said there needed to be discussion on it. I was away. I checked the agenda. It did not come out until the final agenda, which at that time was kind of late. I was in Europe at the time. And I personally think that if you want to, if you want to look at it as a whole, it wasn't a partisanship thing. My issue was when Dave interviewed and what I thought, but I have been on the record for this, and I've also been on the record that when someone leaves a board, that the alternate should be moved up into that spot. And I have not wavered from that. I still feel the same way, and we did have that come up
with our planning board, which I also had stated that I felt the alternate should be moved up, and the person that was appointed in front of him should have been put in the alternate position. Not that they were any less qualified, but the person that was the alternate did his duty and his time and was up to speed with the things that had to get done in that particular volunteer board.
You know what? You keep saying that, and Tommy, you've said exactly what you said, and Ed, you've said exactly what you said. And what I have said to both of you, if we want to do that, then we need to propose a law.
And that's why I asked.
And let it
That's
go
why I
in there.
specifically asked that no appointments be made at that time, because you brought that up, and I agreed with you 100%.
Well, I think if you really want to see that, then we need to propose a new law.
We are going to, I think, under the supervisor's plan, look at every one of our boards holistically.
But you know what should be done is all the people in the past. So, oh, this is the new board member. Just sign it, you know. And they say, I have enough food. You don't need to bother me. I've been sold like that right here. Okay. So this has to be checked. And I have all the records. If you want to look it
The
up.
past is a past. Vic.
No,
We've been very
the past
good
and the future, they have to be checked out.
People
right?
have been coming in for interviews on the boards, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that.
Supervisor Slater has been very inclusive, making sure that we are in on the process, and he doesn't say, hey, can you guys vote for this person? No, meet the people, climate smart community, they all came in, very, very nonpartisan group, and that's what it should be. The people that are doing great for the town, but, you know, I'm not saying that we can't do great for the town also. I think it's our job as elected officials to be there as a resource as well.
But you know, somehow the parks and recreation it's running in the different, different way, you know, and to some kind of a benefit directly, indirectly, ethics. I mean, you know, don't want to have I spoke to a really very high power guy, and we have hired him an ethics law. And he and I have some discussion, and I was very happy to talk to him today, you know. And even I told him the joke about the lawyer. He said, tell me another joke about the lawyer, you know. It was very nice, Leventhal, you know.
If I can just make one more comment on the topic, and I do want to transition off, unless you have other things you want
I wanted to talk a little bit about...
I'd like to talk about, yeah, so do I. But just in regards to Mr. Lieberman's, whatever that was, the park superintendent is behind you. I do know that the Parks Department and the Parks Commission did ask me to recognize Diana for her years of service, and we have all intentions of doing that. So the town is not ignoring what she has accomplished for our community by any stretch of the imagination. We are working in conjunction with our Parks Department and Parks Commission to accomplish that. So thank you for bringing that to my attention as well. Mr. Lackman. Excuse me? And Pat Caparella as well, of course. Thank you.
So I just wanted to hit a couple things, and Matt, I know you're a little more well-versed in the capture point, but from what I understand...
Well, I mean, do you want to tackle that now, or do we want Jimmy's here, or do you want to do it while we, in advance of the resolution?
That's why we do it with the resolution.
Oh, we can do it with the resolution.
Or Jimmy, why don't we have Jimmy? Jimmy, why don't you come up, please, our Park Superintendent, Jim Moderano. This is something that we've been working on for quite some time.
One thing before that, Matt, I just wanted to touch on with the fire zone, no parking.
Oh, thank you. I meant to touch on that as well, Mr. Strauss.
Thank you, Mr. Strauss. You're 100% right. I'm that guy that goes into the post office in Shrub Oak and the bank and asks if I can fill out the application to park in the fire zone. Okay? Which they kind of shudder when they see me walk in there because they know if there's a line of cars out there, I'm the one that's going to say it. I know that our code enforcement people and our police officers do swing through at least that one, and the one over here in, and the ones on this side of town. But I think that maybe we have to be a little bit more vigilant on getting them out of there. I noticed double parked cars in front of Dunkin' Donuts at 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning to go in and get their coffee. It's absolutely ridiculous.
They need John's coffee.
I have been doing it.
No, they have. Mr. Strauss is spot on because the only ticket I ever remember getting was actually in the Turco's parking lot outside of Citibank because I parked in the fire. I was a kid. I parked in the fire lane, and I got a ticket. I've never parked in a fire lane ever since because I was terrified by the fact that I got a ticket.
That's what has to start happening more and more.
Thank you.
The disabled spots also.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Jim, if you don't mind, can we talk about Capture Point real quick? I know it's on the
just wanted
agenda.
to thank Jay for his concerns because, when the constituent comes up here and has concerns, it's our job to answer those
Absolutely.
questions, and I think that's very important.
And if I can also add, though, that constituents don't have to wait to courtesy the floor. We have an open door policy. They can come to my office. They can call. They can call my cell phone. They can email. They can talk directly to our staff. And usually, the way that it's been happening is I direct our constituents when they have questions to our staff because I view our department heads as experts in what they do. And so having their knowledge and resources and time invested in these projects goes a long way to be able to share the information that people want to know. So, Jim, if you can just enlighten us a little bit on some of the concerns that were raised. I know that you were in touch with Capture Point to specifically answer some of Mr. Kopstein's questions.
All right. Well, there's three major concerns. I'll start with the first concern that he had was that we should have gone out to bid. I don't think this reached a threshold or is even close to the threshold that needed a bid process. Furthermore on that, there's only two major companies in this realm. It's a WebTrack, which is owned by RecTrack, and there's Community Pass, owned by Capture Point. Capture Point has been around for over 17 years. They serve over 30 communities in this area. And when talking to all the other communities that had one or the other, or that switched to another, Capture Point Community Pass with Capture Point is by far the best. Hands down, always raved about. So, we're happy that we're getting the best product here. The other question was, and one of the reasons why we went with this company is, what about residents and non-residents? Kind of issues with not clear residency. We can actually put in households one by one, if needed, to confirm any questionable addresses that we may have, whether they're a resident or a non-resident, and that will automatically adjust. I think he showed that also.
Right, and it was a great point by Mr. Kopstein because if you everyone you go around town, you've got zip codes. Again, he used the Somers example, the Ossining example. I mean, you've got folks with Newcastle address zip codes. Mount Kisco. I mean, so it's a very valid point, but I do believe that the vendor was able to provide a sufficient answer to make sure that people are paying their fair share, and that's what we're really talking about.
Correct. And then his third question was data security. They are a PCI compliant company with Security Standards Council. They use a rock solid data center called Equinix. They are also they use AWS cloud.
Can you explain AWS, Amazon?
Yep, Amazon Web Services.
Right.
They're
so
well-known.
Everyone's heard of Amazon. I think I've got like 8 packages that my wife ordered waiting for me in my house.
So
Amazon to the supervisor.
They don't store any credit card data, anything like that, and they've never had any data issues in their 17-year existence.
Right.
There is no
and also it's user populated, the information you put in. So if you don't feel comfortable putting anything in their system, then please don't.
Yeah, you can go do it in person.
And that's the other thing,
Absolutely.
again, to emphasize is we're not mandating online registration. It is an option. You can still go into the rec department and you can still register as you normally would, as people have done here for decades.
So I hope that satisfies.
The last thing he also talked about was a convenience charge. I believe there is a convenience charge if you use your credit card.
There's not a separate charge. So if let's say it's $100 for the charge,
correct?
It's 2.6%.
2.6
from what we're receiving. So we would then receive 97.4% of that $100. So we get we'd receive a check for $97.40. So it wouldn't. Does that make sense?
Here's the question.
So they wouldn't get charged.
We can capture that fee when we charge.
Correct.
So if you're going to charge $50 for a rec program, you can charge it's 51 and change, so you can capture.
But we'd make that price across the board, whether you're coming in or not. It'd be the standard price.
Well, I think you would have to charge the resident who wants to use the credit card because that's a fee that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we could do a discount of $2.50 if you use cash opposed to credit. We could do something.
How about
like
the check then?
The check we could do the same. If you pay cash or check, you would get a discount of some kind.
Because even if you go into a place to use your credit card, now they can charge you up to 3%.
That's correct.
On the use of your credit card or debit card, believe it or not, at this point.
Debit
Debit too. Yeah.
No, debit, I don't
So,
think.
What do we do on the clerk's office for like dog licenses?
In the town clerk's office, it's the convenience fee is automatically added on to their whatever they're doing. So if it's $12.50 for a dog license, it automatically adds $1.75 onto that.
So I'm sure they may have that built
They
into
have-
the
yeah,
program.
we can't
If
pick up
not,
the
They have capabilities either way we want to.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right,
So
we
we're not.
don't
We're, it's
pay.
not like we're not going to lose money on a credit card charge.
Correct.
We're going to be able to pay and inflate the price so that the credit card charge is taken off the top.
That's correct.
But we have to keep the account somehow, how much money we have to pay the credit card company. We have to write the check, the town write the check, right?
They actually send us the check for the balance without the credit card fees.
And that was my point to before.
And actually, they electronically deposit to the bank probably. So
Thank you. Thanks for clearing that up.
no problem.
Any other? Did you want anything else regarding capture point before we? Move?
Yeah, I think that probably answered all the questions Jay had.
Ready?
Okay.
He's in the back.
Very
That
good.
was
All
great-
right. So then
great
we
that
will continue with our agenda. Resolutions. Resolutions. I'd like to read this one, if that's okay with everyone else. In recognition of Black History Month, whereas Black History Month was first celebrated as Negro History Week on February 1st, 1926, and whereas it became a nationally recognized month in 1976 to pay tribute to African Americans who struggled through an oppressive society, and whereas the town of Yorktown recognizes and acknowledges that Black history is, in fact, American history, and whereas Black History Month gives our community time to reflect on the struggles and triumphs of African Americans throughout our national society, and whereas African Americans have made invaluable contributions to the American cause, including protecting our liberties and democratic society, and whereas the town of Yorktown acknowledges and applauds the many contributions that African American members of society have made, including but not limited to John Swett Rock, Frederick Douglass, W.E.B. Du Bois, Martin Luther King Jr., Thurgood Marshall, Duke Ellington, Maya Angelou, Guillaume Bluford, and Jackie Robinson. And whereas the Yorktown Historical Society will present an educational program, and here's the flyer. I meant to mention it earlier, but there will be an educational program titled New York's African Heritage at the John C. Hart Memorial Library on Thursday, February 20th, 2020, in recognition of Black History Month. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Yorktown recognizes February as Black History Month, and be it further resolved that the town of Yorktown stands as a community of hope, generosity, and acceptance to everyone, regardless of religion, race, national origin, ethnicity, culture, or orientation.
Motion.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye. Oh, I have one question. Those soldiers, monument we have, they're African American soldiers in there.
Yeah, Rhode Island Regiment.
Yeah, that's all,
Yep.
Rhode
Yep.
Island Regiment, yeah.
Next, we're going to we'll just go through the title. Rescind Resolution number 343 of 2019, an amended resolution of number 380 of 2019 regarding Charles A. Manganero Consulting Engineers PC. This is the Mohegan Ave Bridge resolution
for
oversight.
Yes.
Just to provide additional clarification, there was a original resolution that was passed, number 343. That was amended later in the year, number 380. So we are rescinding both resolutions right here, again, citing the procurement policy, excuse me. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution authorizing town to pursue an amendment to general municipal law. That, just for clarification, is requesting our state legislators to pass legislation allowing us to lease advertisement space on the athletic field fences at Legacy Field and Granite Knolls.
So moved.
Second.
We'll just do them all. You want to
Yeah, do them all at the end.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll just do them all at the end. Adopt cultural heritage tourism as one of the primary strategic drivers for revitalizing the town of Yorktown. This was something that Lynn Briggs brought to us last week at the work session. Next, we're going to create the Yorktown 250 Committee to commemorate the 250th anniversary of our nation in conjunction with state, regional, county, and local initiatives. Another fantastic program.
Big celebration.
Yep, that our Landmarks Commission is heading up for us. From the town attorney, authorize supervisor to sign a license agreement with Carol's Kitchen to operate a mobile food and refreshment truck in the town's commuter parking lot. Authorize Yorktown Stage, Inc. to pursue the necessary licenses for the sale of alcohol at the Yorktown Stage performances. That was brought to us last week. Barry Liebman was here. We discussed how that enhances the experience over at the stage. From the town clerk, authorize town clerk to advertise a public hearing for proposed local law to amend Chapter 275, Vehicles and Traffic, adding full stops to a variety of locations within the town of Yorktown. I do want to read the locations just for full transparency. Again, this is to advertise the public hearings. I did have a few constituents reach out to me about this. We are doing East Main Street at the northwest corner of intersection with Route 132, East Main Street at northwest corner of intersection with Stony Street, East Main Street at southeast corner of intersection with Stony Street, Mark Road at southwest corner of intersection with White Hill Road, Mohansick Avenue, the service road, at northeast corner of intersection with Park Lane, Mohansick Ave, again the service road, at southwest corner of intersection with Leland Drive, Sherry Drive at southwest corner of intersection with Ellen Lane, Winona Trail at southwest corner of intersection with Dale Street, Wren Place at southwest corner of intersection with Suncrest Avenue. Additionally, another resolution from the town clerk to authorize the town clerk to advertise a public hearing for a proposed local law to amend Chapter 275 titled Vehicles and Traffic, adding a no parking zone at Kear Street. Also from the town clerk, authorize the town clerk to advertise requests for proposals for the town attorney and general municipal services. From the town comptroller, authorize the comptroller to pay out the cash value of unused time for Lieutenant Thomas Gentner as of his retirement date. From the town engineer, performance bond release for $500 to CDA Construction, Inc., Stephen Roach. From the highway department, authorize the comptroller to release escrow deposit for the street opening permit for Douglas J. Costello. From the Parks and Recreation Department, authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with Capture Point LLC for Community Pass online registration software. From the Planning Department, authorize additional monies for window installation at Railroad Station building in Railroad Park, and to transfer of monies capital contingency to Railroad Park rehabilitation project. John Tegeter is here. As everyone knows, the town awarded $476,000 to restore the Railroad Station building at Railroad Park. This is an additional amount of $7,640 for a window, a custom window that needs to be replaced.
How's the work going?
Doing great. John, you want to give us a quick update?
Well, you want to finish?
Oh, yeah, and one last one, and then John can give us a quick update. From the police department, approve lodging expenses for a police department employee to attend a training seminar. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, just a second. I have one question, okay? Somebody either send me email or call me something that how much revenue from alcohol sales come to the town. Do we have any kind of discussion? Was it done?
So we haven't. I don't have the exact number in front of me. Essentially, what we're doing as the landlord is allowing the tenant to apply to the SLA for them to get a liquor license.
Yeah,
so
so
that's what this.
it will be on the town's name.
It will be in the tenant. It'll be in the tenant's name.
Okay.
It'll be Yorktown Stage Inc. And it's going to be again just like with the Par 3, how we had to authorize the tenants of the Par 3, which we're the landlord of, to apply for the DEC permit. We are again as a landlord authorizing the tenant, Yorktown Stage Inc., to apply for the state liquor license.
No, they will have the license, but there was any kind of a return to the town or from the profit share?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it raises revenue for the stage, and with the goal of reinvesting that revenue back into the stage.
Correct.
So we're trying, because right now they have, Barry was here last week. He's got a 17-point list that seems to grow weekly. And so it's going to provide revenue for us to hopefully address some of his concerns.
Though whoever questioned to me, I don't know, but the answer is on the television, so please.
Well, he does
that's
have
okay. I know.
He is looking to reinvest.
Absolutely.
And one of the things we asked him was to start doing movies.
Yeah.
Right, which is another thing, and I think before I forget, a quick shout out. We have The Lion King, of course, coming up over at the Yorktown Stage. Which is going to be an exciting show for kids and families.
And we're going to have one other shout out, but I'm going to need some help from Yorktown's finest. When is the Unity tour? The March 1st? Do you know the location on that? So the Yorktown Police Department will have their Unity Tour.
So we have a
March
mo-
1st, I forgot.
Thank you, Councilman. We have a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Great. And Mr. Tegeter, a quick update on Railroad Park, if you don't mind.
Quick update. So, as you know, or for those that don't know, we are restoring the Yorktown Heights train station, which is a national landmark among state and local as well. Everything is going pretty well. We believe that we will be done sometime in May. If you go by there, you can certainly see that most of the slate roof is on, except for one spot at the peak, which is left there for now until the new restored chimney comes through the middle, which was the original condition, rather than the chimney that was on the back. You will find that, just as in this picture back here, you see that reverse gable above the main door. That was replaced. That was missing for decades and decades. And as you go by, and even in this picture, I think you can see that it adds quite a bit of character and really finishes the architecture and the form of that piece. The interior is being worked on now. Some of the floors have been removed. We did discover a chamber below the floor that housed a boiler, which is intact and still there. Wow. Probably started out as a coal-fired boiler, and then it moved to an oil-fired boiler. But it was done after the building was actually built. But we are going to keep that intact. We're not going to fill it or anything like that. So it's moving well. As far as the windows, since it is a historic restoration, all the windows have now been removed. They are at a subcontractor's shop who restores those windows. They use as much of those original wood as possible. And so the new window will actually be rebuilt to be exactly like those windows. So that's what we're up to.
It is a landmark, so we can't change anything.
Yes. And it is the last one in existence. Millwood existed up until 2012, but that was taken down. And that is one of the reasons that we know that that window did exist, because pictures of that showed the window there, where ours turned into a door for some time.
So all the old wood outside and all the paint we have painted many times is gone now?
Yes.
Okay.
We're going to repaint it the original colors, or actually the color that was found underneath all of the other layers. So I think that's original.
Too many kind of paint. Before this, you have a oil paint and a latex and all that.
Oh, yeah, they got all that.
Thank you, John.
Very
We
nice
appreciate it.
job.
We have
Very nice job. Really nice.
motion. There's no, I'm sorry. Excuse me. There's
The residents can contribute to this?
Dollars?
Yes.
There isn't, but
no, there's no.
Yeah, you can maybe be able to contribute to the Yorktown Historical Society, because they did have a program to collect money for that a number of years ago.
Thank you. A motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a great night, everyone. Thank you for attending.